What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about what your house will do to your character in Hogwarts Legacy. So, I've brought this up before. In fact, I kind of briefly, I name dropped this topic in my last video where we talked about relationships, like with a partner, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And I mentioned, do you have people, like friends, that are exclusive to houses? And that's actually part of this discussion as well. There's actually a couple things to talk about. Number one, what are things that are limited to you and not limited to you when you go, in your house? And is that characters? Is that like story decisions? Is that skills and like abilities that your character is able to do? What is kind of unique to each house? And you imagine for a game like this, there should be, I would say there should be, it doesn't have to be, but there should be quite a few things that, okay, if you're in Ravenclaw, you get this set of things that you're not, obviously many parts of the game are going to be the same. You can't make 4 different games in one, like 4 actual individual games in one game. It's not going to happen, but you could have kind of splits off of them based off of these 4 houses. So I want to talk about all of that. It's a very, long opening, but that's the sense of what you guys are going to be getting in this video. As always, if you guys do like this stuff, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. Suggestions are always welcome. I love, as you guys can tell, I've done a lot of videos like this, talking about specific features or things in the game. I love doing these. These are some of my favorite videos to record. Definitely let me know if you guys want me to talk about anything else in the comments below. I'll definitely do that. I'll give you guys a shout out. And final thing, we are getting insanely close to 2,000 followers over on Twitter. By the time you guys watch this video, it'll be even closer than it is right now. If you guys haven't followed me over there yet, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. I know not everybody likes Twitter. I get it. It's my community, I will say, is not very toxic. And I would just appreciate the follow, okay? And thank you guys, by the way, for all of the support you've shown in all these videos and subscribing here and all that, in really any place that you guys show support. I really appreciate it, okay? So, all right, let's talk about this. Now, I've said my personal thing is I want to have a playthrough as a Gryffindor student and as a Slytherin student. Now, really, if I were to I mean, maybe because of the channel, and as the channel will continue to get bigger and more people will come in by the time this game comes out, maybe there'll be an unsaid expectation of me to play the game as all 4. Eventually, maybe I will. If the game's good enough, I'll give it a try all 4 times. The thing is, too, that's important as well. So remember, in the very beginning, we talked about what's blocked off, kind of the pros and cons. Well, another thing, too, is when you have a game where you can go down different avenues at the start. So in the start of this game, we imagine, now, I guess that's a question, too. How does the house get chosen? Now, we've actually talked about this. This is one of the very first videos we ever did. I had mentioned it would be kind of cool to do like a test, like where you could ask personality questions. Now, of course, there are things online, in fact, even an official one, right, where you could answer questions. They give you your Patronus and all of this different kind of stuff. I mean, there's ways of doing it, and I know not everybody is into that. I know when I made that video, some people were saying, yeah, like a quiz, that's kind of dumb. I mean, really, to me, it is whether, like, it's a competition of you start the game and you pick the house versus you start the game and the game decides for you in some unique way. And that unique way can obviously be different than what I'm suggesting, right? What I will say is my prediction is we just pick. Like, we do the sorting hat cutscene, and in the sorting hat cutscene, that's either where we get to make our character, or maybe we make like visually what they look like and their gender and all that stuff. Maybe we do that right before, and then we get to pick. So it just says, okay, which house, you pick the house, and then the sorting hat will have a cutscene in which it tells us that you're going to go to whatever house. That's how I think it's going to happen. Now, what does the house actually do? Well, again, I think that, there's actually one thing I want to talk about too that I just thought of now before I forget it, is house points. It's something that I think I've mentioned briefly. I think a lot of other people, like you guys, like in the comments, you guys have dropped house points before in the comments. I think that would be kind of cool. It's not something that needs to be the most important. I don't care about the house cup personally. I don't care about who, which house has more points, but just as an extra thing where you feel like, remember, we always talk about an interactive and a livable open world, something where your decisions in the game and your fellow housemates' decisions influence points, negative and positive, and you get rewarded at the end of the game. That would be kind of cool. But also, we don't know how many years we're going to be in Hogwarts, so, like, is there a house cup for every year? What do you get if you win the house cup, right? So, like, if it's at the end of the game, does it really matter what you win? Like maybe it's a trophy, like or like an achievement, right? But it doesn't have to be, or like it wouldn't necessarily even have to be something that they give you. So that's something. But obviously, the main thing would be characters and would be, again, like abilities and stuff like that. So what I personally think, and I said this in the relationship one, I do think they will have characters that are blocked off in a sense, where you cannot go too far with them if you're not in their house. Okay, so let's say we're in Slytherin. I think you'll have a group of friends and love interests, potential love interests, in each house. Okay, pick how many you want. Say 4 friends, 2, and then 2 additional people where maybe you can romance them. Okay, so maybe like 6 in all, and let's do that for all 4 houses. I think a lot of them in the other houses will be locked off. I don't think they should all be locked off. I think that's kind of lazy is a tough word because I don't want to insult the developers. I'm sure they're all doing a great job and they have Kotaku and IGN attacking them. They don't need me attacking them in this way. But I could see a majority of other characters locked off. And what I will say is that does promote replay, like it promotes replayability. It promotes you playing the game again, because if there's people, and again, like I think these characters should still be in the game. I'm not saying like if you're in Slytherin, these characters that do exist, but you can obviously romance them, you can become friends with them, all that stuff in other houses, they're just not in the game. No, I think they should be in the game, but you probably won't be able to interact with them as much as you could if you're in the house. And to that point, I do want that. I want where you can still talk to them, where you can maybe have some minor relationship with them, but you cannot go too far. And I don't think it's necessary. Like if they let you romance or have a friend with anybody, whether you're in Slytherin or you want to go to a Ravenclaw or whatever, that's fine. I'm actually okay. Like that's a good thing. It just actually kind of opens up the possibilities where it's like, hey, there's like 20 people you can be friends with. Who did you guys choose? Who did I choose? Right? Like that's a fun discussion and a fun like thing in the game. And you probably can't go all the way with all of them. So that, again, that kind of promotes you playing the game over again. So I do think there's a balance. I think there's many ways you could go at it, but I would say the one that seems to me kind of the safest and kind of the most obvious, based off of literally nothing, because we really don't know much about this game, is that I just feel they'll probably lock some people behind, invisible bars where you won't be able to interact with them too much. Now, what you get from the house, I do think that should be part of it. Now, a game like this, so you have fighting, you have probably like okay, what I'm trying to say is like there's games where you have like intelligence, where you have like, even think about Persona, intelligence, charm, guts, stuff like that. But there's other games too, right, where like if you're like really nice, they'll open up nice dialogue options. If you're mean, it'll open up that kind of stuff. And sometimes you can't even go for the nicest or the most like the best answer because you're not at that level yet, and so you kind of have to settle for something lower. I wouldn't mind that, and in fact, I hope like those mechanics, obviously done in their own way, but I hope those mechanics are in Hogwarts Legacy. The thing is, will being in a house impact that? I do. I think there should be buffs in some ways where like if you're in Slytherin, this attribute, you're like a little bit better at it than if you were in a Ravenclaw. And then if you're in a Ravenclaw, you may be weaker in that attribute, but another, factor could, maybe your intelligence is higher. And again, this stretches beyond conversation. So you could do that. You could do like trying to get yourself out of tough situations. Maybe there is like an intelligence or like a charm kind of thing. Maybe there is a personality one where you're just easy to talk to. But that, you could only go so far with dialogue, but they could do much more. Maybe your wand gets a boost. Maybe Slytherin attack spells are boosted up, but defense or protective charge, whatever you want to say. I don't even know what all the factions of like spells would be, but like, you know what I mean? So say there's like 5 and that goes into your skill tree. So say you have a skill tree and say there is like an attack cat or like an attack skill tree, and there's a defense and there's a this and there's a that. And imagine if you're in Slytherin or Gryffindor or whatever, certain ones are easier to get skill points on. Some of them maybe are harder. Some of them maybe you start with a couple of them. I love talking about this stuff because I really feel like these are the things that can very well happen, and I hope they do. You know what I mean? I think it is necessary. I mean, you do have the characters, and so, yes, like talking to them and developing relationships with them, that's obviously important. But from a gameplay perspective, I do want it to feel like if I'm in one house, I'm going to have an edge on some things and not in it. Like, some things will actually be tougher, you know what I mean? And you can go into potions. You could say, okay, well, maybe if you're in Hufflepuff, like your ability to make potions, like you'll be better at it. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but I think that these are very real things that make you feel like you're part, again, that livable, like feeling like things are happening, but feeling like these are actual houses, and you get benefits because if they're just names, if it is your, your robe that you're wearing, you know what I mean? Like, you have like you have the icon of Slytherin like on your robe, like, okay, that's cool, but like, if that's all based off of picking the four, like, that's nothing. You know what I mean? There's literally nothing separating me picking one house versus the other. But if you lock out certain friends, if you say, hey, if you're Slytherin, you're going to be boosted pretty high, or like you'll get extra skill points or whatever, this stuff will be boosted, but then other stuff will actually be kind of difficult. And there's a pro con for all four houses. And so when you're picking, it is harder than just saying, I like the name Gryffindor. You know, I like how they look. You know what I mean? There's more to it behind there. And in fact, that does go into the wizarding world. I mean, these houses are synonymous of, like, obviously they're named after the people that founded them, but like the kind of personality, the kind of witch or wizard that normally comes out of these houses, they're unique, and they're very skilled in one thing, and maybe they're not so skilled at another thing, and you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the main point, and it's because it's your life, it's where you're living. So I really hope they make these houses very, very diverse, and honestly, I think they will. I think this is a very... Now, is everything that I said in this video going to come true? Probably not. It's probably asking too much, but I think that this is an easy ask for them to do. You know what I mean? Like saying, hey, can you make these houses all feel unique? I think that's something that they're probably working very, very hard on. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? What do you think and how a house would do for relationships? What do you think a house would do for, spells or, potion making, whatever? Let me know. As always, again, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turn on. You guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15. I'll shut up about it, by the way, when I get to 2,000. But for now, I'm going to really push it hard. Again, and final thing, like I said, for suggestions, if you guys want me to talk about anything specific for Hogwarts Legacy, love to do it. I've talked about controversy. I'm sure I will talk more about controversy as the months go on. But obviously, I love to make these topics as well. Okay, so let me know anything you want me to talk about in the comments. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.